So here's a map of Blackwater and maybe a key to all the money they left behind at the top left, followed by an impressive rendering of the town. Part 1. Blackwater. I bought this new journal after that last one got destroyed in that fire all those months ago, whenever it was. I haven't written or drawn much in the past few months, but I was missing it more than I thought I would, and finally near a store, so here I am, I guess. After all that business up north and the fire, we spent a few months in the wilderness, traveling down from the northern grizzlies. Stuck mostly in the western foothills of the mountains during the worst of the winter. Food was easy to find and life was good. Dutch had a lead for some land we were going to buy, but the land did not match up to his criteria, or he got spooked we were being watched by the law, and that somebody knew who he was, and we never bought it, and we are wandering still. We picked up a couple new folk in the Grizzlies, and here's a quick sketch of Jenny. Jenny, a sweet young girl we met abandoned on the roadside, and Micah, an outlaw Dutch met in a bar someplace. Dutch seems very taken with Micah, who is pretty hot-headed, argumentative, and full of himself. Hosea and I are less sure. Guess we shall see. Eventually, we came out of the wilderness and are now holed up outside of Blackwater, although sometimes I stay in town hunting for opportunities. And a drawing of the Blackwater Town Hall. I might be onto something. We got plenty of money, and the trail we took was so tortuous and slow nobody could have followed us south and east, or figured out where we was heading. We was thinking about California, but then Dutch and Hosea brought us down to Blackwater. Next, some more drawings of the town and all of the construction. Also, some quick sketches of some workmen. Blackwater has apparently grown a whole lot since any of them was last here. I was told to expect little more than a trading post. But the place is growing fast, and it's almost a small city. The town seems to be riddled with corruption, but there's certainly plenty of money here. It's good to be sleeping in a bed from time to time and living a more civilized life after so long under canvas, but I do not particularly like being this near to a town. And this may very well be a quick rendering of the gang's camp outside of Blackwater. We are living here, camping outside town mostly, hidden in plain sight, I guess. Life seems pretty easy. Abigail and Marston keep arguing. I wonder why exactly he came back. He cannot seem to decide if he wants to be a father to that boy of his or not. The arguing is exhausting. I heard talk of a man sounded like Trelawney, but we haven't seen him for many months. Hosea and I are onto something pretty big. Might be a lot of cash coming in to do with a real estate scam Hosea thinks he may have discovered. I am not sure yet. The perfect crime, we think, one where we rob crooks. We are being real careful. It's fun working with Hosea again. The man is an artist of nonsense. Even if nothing comes of it, we are having an amusing enough time. And here's the infamous ferry. Also a reference to Red Dead 1, perhaps. It's good to be running scams again. Hosea is a born huckster. He is getting anxious, worried that by lingering in town, we are going to bring undue attention to ourselves. But Dutch thinks he is also onto something big, his words, not mine. Bank money being brought in by boat, apparently. So for now, we are working on both things and seeing what happens. Plan is to flee west into the desert country someplace, if we can. Another portrait, this time of the local lawmen. Micah and Dutch are planning to rob the ferry in town. They think it's laden with riches. Cash coming in for the banks, coming in by boat. For once, I am not getting involved in the job. Hosea and I are too taken up with our business, which I believe could go very well, and Dutch seems confident that with the group assembled, all will be okay. Plan is for them to carry out the job, then flee into the wilderness out to the west. The next day, Hosea and I will carry out our scam and join them. Dutch seems happy and excited. He's talking again about California, but he's also talking about a lot of other places. And here is a fantastic double-page spread of the general store and some people and a horse. Look at the perspective and the shadows and his use of cross-hatching. Another horse. Looks like someone might have a little horse obsession. And here's another map of Blackwater, but this time with a big angry X over it. However, the intersection of that X may very well be where Dutch left all the money. Colter. We have been running for weeks. I mean running more than usual. The job they was pulling in Blackwater, robbing that ferry, it turned into a disaster. Young Jenny got killed, poor thing, while Sean and Mac both got arrested or killed, nobody seems sure which. Dutch shot a girl. I am not too sure if by accident or design, and seems like it might have been a setup. We took to the hills in an almighty scramble, leaving money and most of our things behind. Then, as we were fleeing east over the grizzlies, an almighty storm hit us. Davy Callender, who had got shot in the gut on the raid, passed away. It was brutal to watch, and the rest of us nearly froze, but we found shelter and have been resting here in some old abandoned mining town while we await the thaw. And a quick map of Colter. I believe that X is where Davy is buried. A train in the distance on a bridge. Hardly the spring I had been hoping for. Hosea and I had been planning a robbery of our own in Blackwater, but I guess that's been abandoned along with most of what I owned. I am profoundly concerned as to what happens next once we leave this place or the law finds us cowering up here. Found a girl. Well, a woman, I should say. Her husband had been murdered by some of Colm O'Driscoll's boys. Nasty business. Followed by a sketch that was probably done by memory by the fireplace of the gang heading out to pay a social call. Note how Arthur captured the movement of the horses with a few strokes. The caption is "Riding Out." And here is the map of the train robbery. The caption is Leviticus Cornwall. Seems Colm O'Driscoll had the same idea as us. He's been hiding up here, scouting out a train he wanted to rob. We bumped into some of his boys at some farmstead they was robbing. Found that poor woman whose husband they had murdered, and now she's riding with us as she ain't got no place better to be. Then, Dutch being Dutch and his hatred for Colm being just as powerful as it ever was, whole bunch of us went to pay him a visit in his camp, but he escaped. A more detailed drawing of the train, again from memory. It's not like he whipped out his journal during the mission. We grabbed one of his boys. Poor bastard ain't spoken yet, but he will once we freeze him a little, then set Bill on him. Been a bad few weeks, but we're mostly still alive. Dutch being Dutch is busy making plans and figuring out just how we're going to survive. And Dutch being Dutch, those plans involve robbery and dreams. A leaping deer, probably just about to get an arrow in the back of the head. And then we finish with a gorgeous rendering of the new camp and Arthur's Tennessee Walker. I'm Superantonio. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your views. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell for daily Red Dead Redemption 2 content, and we shall meet again. Further on down the trail.
I just want to peek in that journal of yours.